Hey guys, welcome back to episode 27 of the BMW M Coupe project. And today, behind me, I have my side skirts over here. I'm gonna block sand them by hand. I also wanted to note that this lens, you see, it kind of is like a fisheye look. I have not edited a video with them quite yet, so I don't know if I like them or not. I'm just gonna roll the dice to see whether it's gonna be a good look or not. If you guys could give me some feedback in the comments below in regards to how you like the look of it in terms of this fisheye look, I would really appreciate that. And also, before I get into today's episode, I do want to thank my friend Oscar, who's the owner at the body shop that I'm currently at called ODA Auto Works. It is a body shop located in Covina, California, and they are the guys to go to for all your bodywork needs, and they are the guys gracious enough to give me a little spot for me to work on my car as well. So with that being said, I am going to start block sanding. I'm going to spray on guy coat, and then I'm going to use 400 grit and just sand it with my hands. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, this is done being block sanded. There's some parts that actually went to metal, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wipe it down with water or a water rag, and afterwards, once it dries, I will put on self-etching primer. So let's go ahead and get started. The next step is to do the front fenders. I'm gonna spray on guide coat, do a little run on them. I think I don't need to do anything too crazy because it doesn't really need much work at all. So this should be relatively quick. Let's go ahead and spray the guide coat. Also, if you haven't noticed, I also switched back to my 24 to 70 mil lens. Let me know what you guys prefer in the comments. That'd be super helpful, and I would really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, driver's side panel done out the way. Now time for the passenger side. All right guys, so with the front fenders and the side skirts pretty much being done temporarily, so I need to put primer on those later. In the meantime, I need to put on the Bondo for the rear quarter panel, and as you can tell, you can't really see it on camera, but I basically circled it here because it's like dented and stuff like that. That's why there was previously Bondo on it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sand it off, clean it off, and then add Bondo here and smooth out the area once again. All right, so the Bondo is now set on the car, as you can see over here. I'm gonna let this dry. In the meantime, I'm gonna clap now. It's gonna fast forward to the next day. All right, so it is now the next day, and as you can see over here, I have my gas tank. There's a little green marker over here that I use to indicate that there's a little dent over here. In regards to how I got this dent, we'll save that for another time. But there's a little dent that I need to use Bondo to fill in the gap over here so that it's completely smooth. So that being said, I'm gonna sand off the self-etching primer that I put on, and then I'm gonna add the Bondo, let that harden, and then sand it once it's done. First step is to sand this off before adding the Bondo. So before I mix the Bondo, I'm gonna sand off all the bits so I can do all at once. Let's go ahead and use 400 grit and sand this off so that you can see everything. So step one, remove this thing. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have the cream, I'm gonna spray a little cookie size circle. After that, I'm going to squeeze on the hardener. It's just gonna be the radius of the circle. So let's go ahead and get started. Probably best to not use cardboard because it might be contaminated. This is clean every single time. Gotta make sure everything is mixed pretty well. The hardener has a tendency to basically have a bunch of liquid on the bottom. So have you ever squirted out ketchup before? It's like that little liquid that comes out before the main sauce. So it's really important that you mix it up properly. Squeeze out. Honestly, the Bondo's on the gas tank. I'm gonna let that pretty much dry. In the meantime, I'm gonna sand this off. All right, so I totally made the mistake of just doing this myself without asking Oscar. I should have started with 80 grit, so I'm gonna now work my way using 80 grit. I'm gonna do 80, 150, 220. All right, so as you can see, this is pretty much smooth, and for the most part, the shape of it is relatively
back in. So this is done. Now it's time to move on to the trunk. All right guys, so as you can see, trunk is now done. Now it's time to move on to this little portion over here, this little dent. So I'm gonna use 80 grits, block sand it, and then move up to 150, move up to 220. That should be done. And then this next is going to be moving on to the gas tank. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I used 80 grit, 150 grit, 220 grit, worked my way up, and now this seems pretty much smooth. I guess now it's time to move on to the gas trunk. It looks like it's good to go. So I'm just gonna get sanding that part too. So the gas tank area is pretty much done. The rear quarter panel over here, so essentially there's a lump right here. I need to basically add another layer of really thin Bondo right here, cover that up, and then resand it again. I'm gonna be more focused on applying it and mixing it rather than filming everything, just because it got super messy last time I was trying to record everything. So bear with me as I try to do this. Okay, so I laid down the second layer Bondo. I'm gonna let this dry. In the meantime, I'm gonna cover everything and resume tomorrow. So I'm gonna clap now and fast forward to the next day. All right, so it is now the next day, and the second layer of Bondo that I put on is pretty much dry. So I'm gonna use 120 grit to sand it down flat, and I should move on to the next panel. Let's see how far we can get today. Ow, frick, ow. Oh my gosh, frickin' stupid exhaust. All right guys, so as you can see, we took the hammer and we were basically hitting the panel. The reason why we're doing that is because you can see over here, I'm sanding it right. Obviously it's not completely like a one shade of Bondo. This is basically a high spot. So this spot in particular where you see there is metal, it is essentially just kind of popped out. It's like it looks like this. As much as I try to sand it down, you know, it's not gonna lay flat. So the reason why we got the hammer is so that we can knock it down and put another layer of Bondo here so that it can be a complete set. After that, that should be smooth, and then that should be ready for primer. So it's a lot of trial and error for this one. I've never laid Bondo before, so this in particular needed the most body work along with the other side of the trunk. So I'm gonna start mixing Bondo. My friend over there is gonna help me lay it down. So since he's the professional, I'm gonna wait a bit and start sanding it. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so rear quarter panel is pretty much done being sanded along with the trunk. Now I'm gonna basically wipe down the car with water and a rag and begin masking. Just kidding. I'm gonna use Scotch-Brite and I'm gonna go over the car and then basically clean off all the edges and start masking. Now that part is done. Now I'm gonna use paint thinner and I'm gonna basically go along, well, I'm gonna blow it off first and then I'm gonna use paint thinner to go along all the edges and then I'll start masking off. Got the Scotch-Brite, scuffed it, blew it off, wiped it off. And now I also used paint thinner and wiped down all the edges. So now it's time for my favorite part, to mask it. I will say though, you should definitely take your time. This is the most, if not one of the most important parts of the whole entire process. So I'm gonna try to take my time. It's currently 2, I'm gonna give myself 3 hours. So let's go and get started. Yeah, definitely doing this a second time is so much quicker. I actually have an idea what I'm doing, and the fact that I know how everything's gonna get laid down and what I need to do, so much quicker and so much easier too. So with that being said, I finished half that side. This is now the passenger side. I'm gonna tape up the hood, tape out the doors and everything. So let's get started. I'm actually pretty happy with how the Bondo laid out over here. Seems like I kind of fixed the little dent it had, so that's good. I was just thinking as I was doing this, I wanted to ask you guys, what are your guys' New Year's, English is so hard, bro. What are your guys' New Year's resolution? Mine is to stop cursing. I curse like a sailor, and I am trying my best to actually control my tongue. So that's something I'm gonna try to work on. I'm always curious to see what other people have set as their New Year's resolution, whether it's to finish reading the Bible or whether it's to make money or etc. I'll actually thoroughly enjoy reading those. So if you could leave in the comments, that'd be super nice. I almost totally forgot to film this, but basically I just pulled the car into the paint garage area and I'm now putting plastic over it. I'm putting the plastic over it to basically cover it with plastic. So that being said, glad I got my camera. I'm basically pulling over the plastic and I am now done with all the prep work and masking. They are going to put on the basic standard primer on the car tomorrow morning. I'm not too sure if I'm going to be able to record that. So I'm going to clap now and it's going to fast forward to the next day. All right, so it is now the next day, and as you can see, they definitely primered it in the morning. I didn't get a chance to capture it, unfortunately, but it's now pretty much dry. And as you can see, the car is pretty much in this dark gray primer. Next step for this is going to be block sanding, and then that should be paint, I believe. So I need to remove the tape on the other side, so let's go ahead and do that first. All right guys, so I basically removed all the tape that was on the car, and now I have my front fender. I'm not too sure if you guys can see it. My front fender right here behind me. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sand this down, but first I need to take off the grill that I have. I have this honeycomb grill. I'm gonna take off and show you guys what I mean. Let's go ahead and snip the zip ties off first. I'm also really confined in this space at the moment. I'll try my best to show you guys everything in the meantime. Okay, so this is basically what I have. I have a little honeycomb grill. This, I don't really remember where I even got this from. This is from, this bumper's not even from my car. This is from my friend's car, but this is off. I'm gonna put this to the side. I'm gonna start taking off all the excess wrap, and then I'm gonna start sanding. I can't even put my full arm out in this area, but that's because I want to work in the shade. The rest of everywhere else is sunny, and I'd rather work in the shade. So look over here, guys. If you look over here where my finger is at, you can see all these riv nuts that I put on. I'm gonna try to remove them. Oh, shiz. They're coming out this easy. There's no way I did this right. Let's get to sanding on this thing. All right guys, so as you can see, I have my front bumper right here. I essentially took off as much as I could with the sander. The rest, like the inner parts of the mouth over here, I'm gonna have to do these by hand, but as you can see, over here is now all black again. I'm debating if I should also wipe down the innard with paint thinner so it's not primered. I don't know why I primered this, to be honest with you. This is kind of a dumb decision of me in terms of what I did a long time ago, but yeah, I think in terms of 4 hours of work, got a lot done. We are moving pretty quick. I have not edited the last 2 videos yet, so I apologize for making you guys wait, but yeah, I'm gonna clap now, and I'm gonna fast forward to the next day. All right, so guys, it is the next day, and my rear bumper I put out in the sun so I can basically let the wrap heat. I totally forgot to bring a heat gun, so I'm gonna use the natural elements to help me in this scenario. In regards to the front bumper, these are the areas, as you can see in the inner mouth of it. These parts I gotta do by hand. The orbital sander definitely cannot get in there. It's way too big, so I'm gonna do this all by hand. Let's go ahead and get started. Oh, shoot. All right, so I am getting pretty far in regards to the front bumper, as you can see. I've been working on the front bumper with my hands, and as you can see over here, I have been doing the inner of the mouth right over here. This used to be all primer, now that's off, along with the, as you can see over here, try my best to get all of it off. Now that the left and right side's done, now it's time to do the middle. Once that is done, the definitive goal for today is to finish this, and this. So I'm gonna do the middle. Hopefully by the end of today, this bumper should be done. Tomorrow, I can move on to the rear bumper. So let's go ahead and knock this out. Woo! All right, so after like 5 hours of sanding, bumper is pretty much done sanding for the most part, as you can see. But now it is all pretty much It's all pretty much plastic again, for the most part. There's little parts I'm probably gonna go over once more when I'm done, but that's pretty much done. Next is going to be my rear. Next up is my rear bumper, and honestly that one should be a lot easier because I'm just using the machine for most of it. I don't think it really requires that much hand sanding. So with that being said, I'm gonna clap now and it's gonna fast forward to the next day. All right, so it is the next day and I probably wore the worst color that I could probably choose in terms of working on a car. So with that being said, this is the rear bumper, and as you can see how it looks right now, this is all pretty much primer. All of it is pretty much primer. So right now I'm gonna remove it. The goal for today is to pretty much remove all the primer on this bumper and I'll be happy. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I finished using the sander for most of it. What's left is basically this little part over here. I did this by hand and I kind of neglected to record it. But anyways, I'm gonna do the rest of this by hand. And after this, the rear bumper should be done and I should be able to call it a day. So let's go ahead and get started on this. Alright guys, so basically after a whole other like literally probably 10 to 5, the rear bumper is pretty much done being sanded for the most part. Maybe there's bits and pieces that I might need to do by hand a little bit more, but as you can see over here, it is all knocked down to the plastic. Now, why did I knock it down to the plastic? Because my stupid self, way back in the day, knocked off everything and I had to put on so much layer of primer. So I'm probably gonna have to do the same thing again. More money I need to spend that I don't have. Rear bumper's done, front bumper's done. That means I can basically put on the primer for this, for that, side skirts, front fenders, and I can block sand the car. And then afterwards, well, I need to probably block sand these more and then put on primer and then block sand it again and then primer and then block sand it again. But I also did a lot of critical thinking, and after a lot of thinking, I feel like what was underneath my side skirt was a undercarriage coating, not Bondo, because it was soft. So I was probably wrong, just a heads up. I am going to clap now and it's gonna fast forward to the next, well, today's Friday, it's gonna fast forward to Monday, so. Alright guys, so it is now the following Monday, and basically what I have left is the front lip and the rear license plate holder thing that goes on my trunk. These are basically the two main things that need to be primered along with the mid-wing. So this I need to unwrap and I need to take off the double-sided tape over here. This is probably gonna be a lot of work, and also I need to fill in some badge indent over here. I was really stupid and I used filler primer over here, which I should have just used like Bondo or putty to fill this in. So I need to figure out how I'm gonna remove all that out. But the first step is to remove the wrap and remove the double-sided tape. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that first. I'll sand this afterwards and see how far we can get today. I just pretty much finished unwrapping the whole entire thing. I need to remove the double-sided tape all the way inside, and then I gotta sand it down. And also gotta figure out how to remove this little block. You see this part over here? If you look at this little divot over here, this part is basically what I used to fill in with a filler primer. Absolutely terrible idea for me as I was a youth. So with that being said, I need to figure out how I'm gonna get this out or knock it out. Maybe I'm gonna get like a metal stick and just stab it out, but I don't know how I'm gonna do this without putting a blister on my finger. I'm gonna try to maybe do this like bit by bit. So I'm just really not trying to put a blister on my finger again, because when I did it a long time ago, I literally put a blister on my thumb and my index finger. So I'm gonna try to get this done and see how it goes. Alright guys, so I finished taking it all off. I basically just removed all the wrap from the lip, and also removed all the double-sided tape all over the back over here. Using the rubber wheel helped out significantly if you are thinking about removing any type of 3M or double-sided 3M tape. I would highly recommend getting a rubber wheel. This is a game changer. This saves your thumbs and fingers from so many blisters. As you can see over here, this is now done. I'm gonna put this to the side. I'm gonna work on the other lip as well. I also used a knife for the little divot over here. Just cracked it. I mean, I'm gonna fill it in with Bondo, so it don't really matter anyways. So I just stabbed it, kind of scraped everything off. So I'm gonna clean this up, sand it off, add the putty, and then basically sand it again, and that should be ready for primer. So now I am going to be working on this one. As you can see, this is the passenger side. I am going to essentially remove the wrap all over here, along with removing the 3M double-side tape from this side too. So let's go ahead and get started on this. So this is now unwrapped. I need to remove all the double-side tape over here. Total random thought. If you are a Christian or a churchgoer, I'd really encourage everyone to just not blindly follow people. Total random thought. I don't know, it's just been put on my heart. So always question everything. Always look for the truth yourself, and always make sure you can cross-reference everything too. So random thought. I'm gonna start removing the double-side tape now. Oh my gosh, bro, my back is murdering me. But anyways, yet another whole day, like basically 9 to 5 of just working in the car. Anyways, the lip is now done. I basically end up taking off all the wrap on it. And as you can see over here, I used a rubber wheel and I took off a majority of the 3M double-side tape from the front lip. But a long day, my back is killing me. I'm gonna clap now. Let's fast forward to the next day. All right, so it is now the next day, and today my definitive goal is to basically sand down the rear license plate holder along with my front lip. If I finish removing the primer on the lips and the little license plate holder thing, I will be a very happy Chinese boy. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this part first, or this license plate thing first. All right, guys, so I am done with the license plate holder over here. As you can see, I sanded everything off for the most part. Some parts went to plastics, some part went to the paint. All the old primer that I put onto it now is off. So I'm gonna put this away, and then I'm gonna start working on the front lip. Alright guys, so as you can see over here, I have basically sanded off all the primer that is on this front lip. My front lip has two pieces. There's one like so. As you can see, they're completely different. The other front lip is basically the last panel that I need to remove all the primer on. After that, that would mean I have removed every single bit of primer that I have ever put on every single panel on my car after I finish this piece. I'm probably gonna do this tomorrow or some other day, but I actually need to clean up this little area. I need to clean up this area over here with my hand and then put on putty or Bondo and just go it over and then basically sand it before we put on the primer. I'll probably do that some other day, but I'm gonna put this down and I'm gonna start working on the other front lip. So let's go ahead and get started on that. After like another hour or two of sanding, I have now fully sanded off all the primer that I put on for the front lip. And actually we noticed there is Bondo that I had to sand off too. So before it came to me, it was primer that was put on. So I thought it was really interesting to see how like once you started sanding off the layers, you started to see how everything was underneath, because the front lip just essentially came primered. I had no idea what was underneath it. So it was interesting to see how much Bondo was used to kind of like, you know, put it together. But anyways, I'm done sanding this off. I am going to put this away and I'm gonna clap now. It's gonna fast forward to the next day. All right guys, so it is now the next day, and as you can see over here, I have my front lip. Thank you, if you said bless you. But as you can see over here, I have a bunch of goo on here. This is basically fiberglass. I'm gonna put fiberglass on here and then I'm gonna put Bondo on top of it, but I need to shave off the fiberglass first. I totally forgot to record me putting on the fiberglass onto the front lip. But anyways, there used to be a little indent here. That's for the AC sensor badge. I'm basically gonna remove the indent where you normally would put the AC sensor badge because I don't have a badge. I totally forgot to record me applying it on, or Steve helped me apply it on, but I'm gonna use 150, sand it down. After that, put on a layer of Bondo so that it's all smooth. And after that, this lip should be ready for primer. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so as you can see over here, I finished sanding it down, but instead of the little gloop that was on there, now it's just this little spot that was filled, and Now what's left for me to do is basically put on a really thin layer of Bondo or glazing. I'm not too sure what the proper term is, but I'm basically going to consult them to seek their guidance on this. After that, I fill that in. I should sand it one more time and that'll be completely smooth. I'm just basically trying to fill in all the little pinholes over here. So once that is done, this panel should be ready for primer and I can start moving on to other stuff too. So let's get started. All right guys, so as you can see over here, I'm gonna move up. My head might be a little scratched off or cut off, but as you can see, I have like a really thin layer of Bondo that is essentially now over it. Once this dries, I'm gonna sand it down and feather it in so that it's completely smooth. Once it finishes drying, I will go ahead and start sanding on that. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go look at my front bumper and see whether if I need to actually repair this or not too. So a couple hours have passed and now it's time for me to start sanding this piece that I put Bondo on, or that Steve helped me put Bondo on. I'm basically gonna sand this off. Now that once this is smooth, this should be ready for primer and I can start moving on to other panels. Let's go ahead and start working on this now. All right guys, so after sanding just for a little bit, the front lip is now done, and as you can see over here, it is very much so flat. This front lip, this is the driver's side. The front lip is now ready for primer along with the other one too. Before I primer all the parts, I actually need to repair the front and rear bumper. The front bumper has a crack, which I'll put on screen right now. The rear bumper, in regards to the exhaust tip area, there's actually a little portion that my exhaust burnt off. I need to fill in that gap again because there was like a little section, that plastic that kind of tore off. Anyways, that's gonna be for next episode. So next episode, I'm gonna be repairing my front bumpers along with I think what's next is gonna be primering all those parts too, block sanding this car, and then getting ready for paint. As for the color, I have no idea what I'm gonna do quite yet. And honestly, if you guys wanna put your suggestions down in the comments, I'd be more than happy to actually read through all of it and to maybe mock it up to see whether if maybe the color that I'm thinking might not be as good as I thought it'd be. So if you guys have any recommendations in regards to not a factory color, because I'm already doing all this work, I'm not gonna be doing no factory color. If you guys have a recommendation for something that is not a factory color, I would love to listen to you guys' opinions, and maybe that you guys might sway my mind and what I already have set in my mind. With that being said, I am going to call this an episode. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys on the next one. Peace out.